We had a few nice trades the last couple days from the daily market breakdown videos, as you can see on the screen. That being said, let's get right into this week's Forex forecast. Alright, starting things off with the US dollar index forecast. So you can see on the weekly chart here, just want to remind you guys, there's really no trend overall. Yeah, okay, sure, momentum has been up on the DXY. That's now been removed the last couple weeks. And just when you kind of zoom out and get the bigger picture, you know, there's no trend. And I think that's why we have seen the US dollar be kind of more difficult to read and have really seen just a lot of fake outs. If you look here, on the daily chart, we had a beautiful daily uptrend, pretty much picture perfect, and last week we really started to test the lows, and then boom, we broke right below the trend line like that. It was looking very, very weak. We had supply zones being respected, trend lines, you know, being removed, and if you zoom into here, we had pretty much 3 candle closes below that upper trend line, which is looking pretty weak for the dollar. Sure, it's not super weak. There's no downtrend, but you know, when we break below a trend line like that and get 3 candle closes below it, that's pretty significant in my opinion. But as you can see, look at this day on Friday we had here on the DXY. Just a beautiful push up. Now we are pushing back up into supply on the daily chart at 104.99. So that is definitely something to consider. And this supply is significant because we've seen 1-2 reactions off of these supply zones so far. Now, it's kind of a double-edged sword where I don't really think shorting at this area is going to be a good idea. I wouldn't say I'm super bullish on the dollar. I wouldn't say I'm super bearish on the dollar as we get into this whole weekly Forex forecast video. However, since it is tested twice, you know, based on the supply and demand methodology, we pretty much call that more weak at that point, more of a weak zone where we would expect it to break. But at the same time, it is proven to be supply, so we could definitely see a move off of it again, especially after seeing such an aggressive move up. We could have people starting to buy and chase right into supply and then get a drop off of that. So we're going to have to kind of rely on the lower time frames, but just want to talk about this daily chart a little bit more, as again, we broke below the trend line. Looks like it's a fake out and we are pushing back up. If we remove this proven supply, that'll be significant, and I'll be pretty bullish on the dollar once again and pretty much call that a fake out. Now on the 4-hour chart here, the trend line is a little bit more clear on the downward trend line, where not only did we break the downward trend line that was down here, we also broke 2 significant areas of supply, and that has left us with demand down at the 104.16 area. So it is possible we kind of fill in this big candle here, retrace back down in demand and react off of it like that, but it's not really showing any evidence of slowing down just yet. If we break this supply here on the 4-hour chart at 105.20, that'll be significant as well, in my opinion. So we are above the downward trend line on the 4-hour chart, which is, you know, showing strength here in the DXY. We cannot deny the strength right now. It is a little bit tricky with these fake outs that we have seen a few times now in the DXY, so we got to be careful out there. It's not super clear. I will just come out and say it right away. The analysis is not super clear right now. I love when we have clear trends, and we are currently just breaking trends and faking out right now. So not the most clear concept here on the DXY, but if we do start to break some supply zones here, I'll have to be kind of bullish again on the US dollar. All right, on to the Euro USD forecast, and really quick, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. All ad revenue from these weekly Forex forecast videos is donated to my local hospice, so every like matters, guys, as we get this video out to more viewers and get more ad revenue to be donated. So will be much appreciated. Hit that like button and subscribe. So on to the daily chart here of the Euro. We are back in for a third test at this daily area of demand that broke a downward trend line on the daily chart here in the Euro. Now, I do expect us to kind of test it a little bit deeper below the last test, so I am expecting to see some more downward pressure. If we break this demand zone, that'll be pretty significant, again, just like the opposite of the US dollar here. That'll be significant in my opinion if we do break that area of demand. Now, we have a couple options here. On the 4-hour chart, we are breaking below the 4-hour trend line. We had a significant area of 4-hour demand that I pointed out a couple forecasts ago, so you guys go back and check that out if you want to see evidence of that. Beautiful move off of it, push up, easy, 4-to-1 trade off of that zone, and we are pushing back into the zone a second time. If you look though, we barely tested this zone. Now, I do not really prefer to be trading at tested areas of demand or supply. That's just my own opinion. However, when we barely test a zone like this, you could expect to see a test deeper into the zone below it and another reaction off of it, since it's barely tested. So it is something we could see on the Euro here. Like I said, is that other reaction second reaction off of the zone, and it's possible we do retrace back up to the supply, where we can then look for a potential short trade off that 4-hour supply if you are bearish on the euro. So that's really the only supply I'm seeing for now. And let's say we push down, hit this demand zone, and we break the zone like that. Any 4-hour supply zone there would be pretty good as well. We could look for shorts off of that zone as well on the euro US dollar. Now, we don't really have any trends, so day trading not going to be the best here. I always tell the members, guys, when we get, going back to the 4-hour chart, when we get massive moves down like this, it's so difficult to see, you know, zones in the lower time frames like that. There is a little potential hidden zone right here, so we could kind of maybe hesitate around there, something like that. And that is at the 1.083 area. So remember, a little hidden zone there. We could definitely see a move off of that little area there. Not the highest odd situation. I just feel the need to point it out there. So yeah, there's when I've told members before, guys, when we get massive moves down like that, it's difficult to trade because the nearest zone is all the way up here. And are we really going to push back up to there? I don't know. It's difficult to tell. Like I said in the DXY analysis, things are kind of all over the map right now. Yeah, we are into daily demand. That's typically bullish, and we were bullish here, and we got the move like we expected. However, when we come back in for a third time, it's difficult to tell what's going to take place around the zone. I've seen a zone work 20 times, and I've also seen a zone fail after 3 tests, 2 tests, right? So it's difficult to tell. That's why we kind of have to wait for confirmation, and that's why I think that it's all going to revolve around this 4-hour chart over here to see if we can really break down like that. That'll be significant bearish pressure, and at that point, I think looking for shorts could be good. So overall, I am leaning more bearish here on the euro, but it doesn't mean we won't be able to look for longs. Like I said, and if you want to get in long at this 4-hour demand zone that I've been pointing out, it's tested, like I said, so it's a higher risk. But if you want to look for a 15-minute time frame confirmation off here, that would be the highest odds thing to do for longs. So I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I am saying if you do want to trade long at that tested area of demand, if you think we're going to go up, that's fine. We just need to look for that extra day trading confirmation to be a little bit more safe here on the euro US dollar. All right, on to the forecast here for gold. So it was looking like we were potentially going to push up to daily supply at 2407, and this was a significant supply zone because it removed an upward trend line here on gold on the daily chart. But look at this move again, obviously the opposite of the DXY, just a massive move down. We are currently testing the lows here. We might hesitate around here, but ultimately I actually think we will be breaking lower here on the gold chart. And why? Well, because we have a weekly demand zone down here. I've been pointing this one out for a while at the 2219 area. And honestly, this would be a target for shorts. So if you are bearish gold, which I completely get right now, I completely understand if you are bearish on gold. It is technically still counter trend, and I did just release a video on trading counter trend, so make sure to go check that out. It is counter trend, so it is riskier, but we have a clear profit target down to 2219, and I think that's where we could be headed, and I think that's where we will pause and then maybe continue the push up to back to all-time highs on gold. So just wanted to give you guys that higher time frame perspective here. And on the lower time frames here on gold, we have a beautiful 4-hour downtrend. So things are looking really, really good right now for shorts. And what the 4-hour downtrend means is as long as this downward trend line is holding, even if we push up and test the trend line, as long as the trend line's holding, I like 15-minute time frame shorts. So which means you could look for a 50-minute time frame supply zone shorts, support and resistance shorts, whatever you like to do, guys. Not everyone trades supply and demand. I completely get that. But as long as the downward trend line is holding, we could be day trading short with a very, very clear profit target all the way down to that weekly demand zone at the 2219 area. And then from there, that's where I will be looking for long trades to get a potentially a massive move up here on gold, which I'm really, really looking forward to building a position down here. If you want to build a position with me and potentially trade along with me, make sure to check out the Diamond membership. This past week, we had a few awesome trades from the daily market breakdown videos and some of the cross pairs here, as well as the Aussie. So if you guys do want access to these daily market breakdown videos, video lessons, Sunday Zoom sessions, and forecasts, Discord group, check out the Diamond membership. We also have lifetime access, and the price will be going up as well. So make sure to check that out. Links in the description down below. We'll be happy to see all serious traders join the team. So that's where we could be headed there as we look at that weekly chart again. And back to the 4-hour chart, we are currently breaking. We have a bunch of 4-hour demand zones down here from my chain analysis from a while ago, which is something we also learned in these Sunday Zoom sessions. And we are breaking this demand zone right now. If we close down here, we'll actually have another supply zone here, which I'll mark out for the members who also get my chart link. And then at that point, we can maybe look for shorts around this area, potentially see a move down. Do I like this area for shorts up here at 23.73? It's not bad. It's just all about, will we get the push up to that? That is the real question. And I mean, even if we push up, break this supply zone, maybe this was all a fake out, I still don't mind this supply zone at 24.04 that we've been pointing out in these videos. Up here, it's a potential trap setup now as well. I think we could definitely see a move off of that zone. So, you know, even if we push up to here, I don't really think that weekly demand zone is out of the question. So it could be a tough road ahead here on gold and some of the other pairs. We just have to monitor the trends and see what's best to be doing. So like I said, guys, to kind of recap here on gold, 4-hour downtrend, 1-hour downtrend. I like preferably 50-minute time frame shorts all the way down to potentially 22.19, as it looks like we are, you know, potentially retracing back down to that weekly demand here on gold. All right, and on to the forecast for the USDJPY higher time frame analysis first. On the weekly chart, just want to point out we have a beautiful weekly trend to the upside. We have not only supply zones being removed, but we have demand zones clearly being respected. Now we are closing in kind of at the highs here, but you know, the trend is looking strong. It's even more clear here on the daily chart, where compared to the DXY, the USDJPY never lost this trend line here. It was never broken. It wasn't even really close. And, you know, yes, we did push kind of low below it there. Even once here, we reacted beautifully off daily demand from a while ago. And, you know, things are just looking pretty strong here in the USDJPY. So, honestly, I think we should continue to trade with the trend long here on the USDJPY. Now, on the 4-hour chart, we also had a beautiful 4-hour upward trend line, and right at the trend line, wow, would you look at that? Right at the trend line, beautiful supply zone, proven supply as well, as we got an initial reaction off of it, a second reaction, and eventually today on Friday, we ended up breaking that supply. If you notice above, we also had this 4-hour supply. If you go back and watch the forecast from the end of May, even before that, all the way back here, I've been talking about the supply. We got a beautiful reaction to the downside off of it. So there's two options here. If you want to trade with that daily and weekly trend, which I suggest, in my opinion, I think it's the highest odds situation. There's two options. We could get it more aggressive, wait for a pullback down to 155.70 and get a long off of that 4-hour area of demand. And if you do not feel comfortable with it, just entering with a stop below, that's fine. You could wait for lower time frame 15-minute confirmation as we come off of that demand zone on the 4-hour chart. That is option number one. Option number two, let's say we don't pull back down to the zone and we just kind of hover around it and we break this supply. Well, since this supply was not only a significant supply because of the massive drop, if we break that supply, also it's been tested once, twice, 3 times before we got a nice move off of it. If we break that supply, that'll be significant because it's been proven supply 3 times. So if we end up removing that 4-hour supply zone, any 4-hour demand zone there, we could look for longs off of that, just like I said we could do down at this one. So if you want to get more aggressive, that would be our potential entry down there on the 4-hour chart. And why I say it's more aggressive is because if we remove this 4-hour supply, not only will the supply be removed, but the high will be removed, and then we'll have a new 4-hour uptrend, which makes it a little bit higher odds. It just makes it more aggressive to look for longs down here. You're kind of jumping the gun saying, hey, I think the 4-hour trend is going to continue and the daily and the weekly trend are going to continue. But like I said, this 4-hour demand becomes better because of the daily and the weekly trend to the upside. So 2 options here in the USDJPY. Remember, guys, any questions, do not hesitate to leave a comment. I respond to every single comment. So if you have any questions about the analysis, do not hesitate to ask. All right, on to the forecast for the British pound, and every week we do this. Let me know your thoughts here on the pound. Let me know in the comments down below where you think the GBPUSD is headed. I'm interested to see. With that being said, I will give you guys my thoughts on the pound right now. So right now we are sitting into this 4-hour area of demand at 1.27. I think it's very possible we do react off of this demand. However, it is below the trend line, so that is definitely a significant thing that's happened. It definitely signals weakness in my opinion. Now, the reason I say we could react off of it is because I actually think we're going to get a deeper pullback. But before we get into that, let's talk about what we could see. So we could see a move off this 4-hour demand up to this 4-hour supply and then get a move off of that, just like I pointed out there. And the reason I think we will, either I think we are going to break below this demand zone. We're actually going to talk about this demand in a second first. I think we could either break below here or push up and then break. And the reason is because, and I'll come back to this 4-hour chart in a second, is this daily chart. I think we have a clear daily demand zone down below with clear profit margin down to 1.25. I think we will probably react off of that zone to the upside. So I think that's what this is where we are headed, down to this demand zone that not only took out 1 but 2 areas of supply. So that's why I think we will be headed down there, especially since the US dollar is signaling strength right now. Now, I don't think it's going to be a straight shot, all the way. Let me just get the price of that daily zone, 1.259. So looking at the 4-hour chart, that is pretty much all the way down here. Now, I don't think it's going to be a straight shot down to there. I think either we will see a move up to supply off of this demand and react off of it, then go down, or I actually think we could react off of this demand zone. I actually think this demand zone is semi-decent. Now remember, there's no higher time frame analysis supporting this demand zone. I just think it's a good zone based off of the idea that this is a support, potential support resistance trap right here. So I think it's possible we do get a move off of this 4-hour area of demand, something like that, maybe a small move, but ultimately I think we will be headed down to the 1.29 area. Just wanted to point out this demand zone and this supply zone as being the most significant ones that we could see moves off of. I think this supply zone will offer a bigger profit margin, where this demand zone could offer maybe just a small 2-to-1 as we head back down to the 1.29 area. So might be a little bit confusing. Like I said, let me know your comments on the pound in the comments down below. But to kind of recap here, could just kind of be playing both of these demand and supply zones before we push down to the daily demand at the 1.259 area down on the daily chart on the pound. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. All right, on to the USDCAD. There is no trend here on the daily chart. However, we did kind of break out of this downward momentum here with this last green day here on Friday. And it's clear we are probably headed back up to daily supply at 1.38. This is a supply that we've seen a 1 and 2 tests off of. So I think that is where our clear profit target would be to the upside. And hopefully we can actually break the high here and give us a nice trend line and trend on the daily chart that would give us a little bit more confidence in trading this one. But I do see a couple options here. The first option is, since we have a 1-hour trend to the upside, we could be looking for 5-minute time frame longs. As long as this trend line is holding, guys, 5-minute time frame longs, day trading longs are completely fine on the USDCAD. I'm not really seeing any 1-hour zones here that are worthwhile, not even this one down here. So again, 5-minute time frame longs are good as long as that trend line is holding. And I don't really consider this a trend line on the 4-hour chart, but based on my up arrow, which all the members will know what that means, it is an upward trend. And why I like this 4-hour demand down here at the 1.368 area is because it removed this supply from back here. Now, if you go back and watch the forecast from a couple weeks ago, the end of May, we clearly talked about this supply. We got a beautiful move off of that supply zone that I pointed out. And now we ended up removing it. And we removed it with this demand zone. So this demand zone effectively removed a supply that was tested once and twice and pretty much 3 times as we reacted off that supply. So it is possible we do retrace all the way down to 1.368. We can get a nice move off of that 4-hour zone, which would be even better because then we'll have a nice trend to the upside. So to kind of recap here, I think 5-minute time frame longs and even 15-minute time frame longs are going to be fine because we do have a 4-hour trend as well. So day trading longs are fine here as long as these trends are holding. And even if we get a pullback down in the 4-hour demand zone, that would be a good opportunity to potentially look for longs at that 4-hour area of demand. And like I said, guys, profit margin is all the way up to the 1.38 area. So just to kind of show you guys, let's say we do get a long entry down at this 4-hour area of demand. Look, we don't win every single trade, but look, this is offering at least a 5-to-1 risk to reward. And you guys know, if you guys have been following me for a while, we like to look for 5-to-1s, especially in the Discord group. 5-to-1s are kind of our sweet spot, in my opinion. Even less is fine as well, which means we lose the majority of the trades, guys, right? So I'm just pointing out that even if we lose this trade, it is well worth the risk up to the daily supply. And even since the daily supply is tested, I think we could go even further. So it's offering a lot of profit margin here on the USDCAD, especially if the DXY trend continues up on the daily chart. All right, and on to the forecast for the AUDUSD, the Aussie US dollar. So you can clearly see another massive move down the Aussie US dollar. And last week we talked about how we had that beautiful pretty much picture perfect daily downward trend line. We broke above it, but we still had this supply to get through. And the reason I thought we could see a move off of it is because it was tested. It was proven. It was proven to be supply. And again, we got to move off of it. Yes, there was some hesitation here, for a few weeks, but ultimately we are headed back down. And I think we are clearly headed down to this daily zone, down at the 0.65 area, where I don't think we're going to blast through. Maybe I don't think. It depends on the US dollar, the DXY as well. Do I think we're going to blast off and go to the moon from here? Probably not. It's going to be difficult to tell. I don't really like to go out that far into the future. However, it is a good area of demand, and I think we could easily react off of it. So clear profit margin down to 0.652 if you are bearish, especially as we come off of this daily supply. Now, we did get a few trades here on the Aussie US dollar. You can see on the 1 hour chart here, we had a beautiful 1 hour trend line that was removed by this supply. We got a nice little, at least 3-to-1 trade off of that 1 hour area of supply. And that was pointed out in the daily market breakdown videos, and even on the 4 hour chart the other day as well, we had another downward trend line that created demand, which then created supply. This is our chain analysis here, and we got a beautiful move off of the supply zone, at least 5-to-1 hit by now here on the Aussie US dollar. So these trades have kind of already worked out. That's why I do the daily market breakdown videos, so that we can catch trades like this throughout the week, because I only do these I only do these public forecasts once a week. It's hard for me to do more than that. That's why we do the 10-minute daily forecast that I was talking about in the Diamond membership. So since we have trends to the downside, unfortunately, I'm not seeing any zones to point out on the 4 hour and the 1 hour chart like we were pointing out in the daily market breakdown videos. However, since we have an H4 and an H1 downtrend on both of these time frames, I think looking for shorts down to 0.652 is going to be good. But as far as zones go, I'm just not seeing anything. And like I said earlier, guys, when we get these massive move downs like that, or massive moves up, it is very difficult to create zones, and that's what we are seeing. There's no pause in the market here, right? It's just a massive drop. Now, again, there's a little bit of a hidden zone up here. Maybe we could see a move off of that. Nothing at 0.661, nothing really that crazy, guys. But again, 4 hour, 1 hour downtrend means we could be day trading short the 15-minute and the 5-minute time frame, with profit margin down to the daily demand at 0.65 there on the AUDUSD. All right, on to the USDCHF. This is a very, very interesting chart here on the US dollar. So before, I had this weekly demand zone just a little bit lower, and I thought, I might just make it a little bit bigger, which creates a nice move off of this weekly demand zone. So I personally think this is a great time to potentially look for longs on the USD Swiss, especially as the DXY chart has really shown a potential just fake out below the trend line. Now, this daily zone, I think we pointed this one out last week as well at 0.89. Nice move off this daily zone. It is embedded inside of that overall weekly demand zone, so no surprise we are seeing a move off of it. I think we could easily hesitate around the 0.90 area at this daily supply, because this daily supply removed this demand, which was tested once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. So a daily demand zone that was tested 5 times was removed by this daily supply. So I personally think we will hesitate around here, but ultimately the higher time frame analysis, remember this is a daily chart, the weekly chart shows the demands in control, and a weekly demand is almost always stronger than a daily supply zone. So I think maybe we'll hesitate, maybe we'll ping pong between the two, but ultimately I think we will be breaking this daily supply zone. So if you are bearish, I would at least wait for this daily supply zone to be hit, and maybe then you could look for day trades off of that. But again, that is pretty risky based on the fact that our higher time frame analysis is showing that we could go up. So take that daily supply with a grain of salt on the USD Swiss here. And as far as longs go, look, with the weekly demand zone in control, daily demand zone, we could definitely just be looking for confirmation trades to the long side. And I'm already seeing one here on the USD Swiss on the 4 hour chart. We had a proven 4 hour supply. It was reacted off of once. This was a supply zone that removed the demand zone from a while back here. We had a, like I said, 4 hour supply, beautiful drop-based drop, reacted off of it, got a nice trade off of that, and a beautiful break of the supply zone here, which has left us with a 4 hour demand zone at 0.89. So this is our confirmation trade on the 4 hour chart. Up there like that, I think we could easily see a move off of this 4 hour zone. And if we take the L, we take the L. We have to go with our higher time frame analysis, which is showing a weekly zone and a daily zone in control, which makes this a higher odds situation down here on the 4 hour area of demand. And I think the first profit target easily is up to 0.90 at this drop-based drop 4 hour area of supply. Now this is an embedded 4 hour supply zone. So again, if you are bearish, Again, I'm not super bearish because of the higher time frame demand zones that are in control, but if you do really just feel the need to short, I would at least wait to this 4-hour supply, because I think it's possible we do hesitate around there and get a potential move to the downside off of that supply zone. So definitely a supply zone to keep on your radar, but ultimately I think the demand zone down below is much better based on our higher time frame analysis. Remember, higher time frame zones always are more important than the lower time frame zones, which is why we are looking at this weekly demand zone as potentially getting a nice move off of that, which leaves us with that 4-hour confirmation down there on the 4-hour chart. Alrighty, last but not least, we are on to crude oil. Now, I was putting out this daily demand from back in February, believe it or not, and it's been a long road up and back down to this daily demand zone, and we are finally getting a nice move off of this daily area of demand. But remember, we do have a beautiful, pretty much picture perfect daily downward trend line at this point. So this move up could be ended shortly. I just want to say that. However, I am pretty bullish on oil long term based on my macro sequence, my multiple sequence analysis. So I am kind of expecting this trend line to break, but remember, it is strong. We can't just fully ignore it. But it definitely means we could be looking for longs off of this daily area of demand. I think that that's fine. And remember, when we look for daily demand zone trades, confirmation, it would be on the 1-hour chart. We had a beautiful downward trend line here, which was removed by this 1-hour demand zone at 74.89. So this is technically our 1-hour confirmation trade right there. So we definitely could see a move off of that 1-hour area of demand. If not, let's say we push up, we don't push down to this 4-hour demand zone, or even if we push off of it and react off of it. And when we push up to this supply, I think we will hesitate, maybe get a move off of it, and eventually end up breaking it. And at that point, then we could add 5-minute time frame longs, because we'll have a 1-hour uptrend. And then any 1-hour demand zone there, we could look for longs off of like that. So a few options here. This is our confirmation trade. Removing this supply would be another confirmation. Then we could look for longs off of that. And if you want to trade with the daily downtrend, and I get it, if you do, that's completely fine with me. I just personally think the macro charts are going to come into play here, and we will see a move up. Well, at that point, we do have a 4-hour supply above at 77.01. I think we'll at least hesitate around here. So this could be a good area to look for little day trades on a 5-minute time frame or a 50-minute time frame. But ultimately, I think, yeah, we could move off of it. But ultimately, I think we will probably be reacting and breaking this 4-hour area of supply. So for shorts, if you absolutely have to short, this would be our little supply zone on the 4-hour chart. But ultimately, with the daily demand zone in control and the macro charts, kind of still being in play, I think we'll be continuing to go up, and I'm pretty bullish here on crude oil. And if you guys want to watch the full-length forecast with all the other markets, make sure to subscribe to the channel membership to get access.